All right, all right, all right. Welcome, you loyal listeners, to another episode of Agency Intelligence, where I give you a real agent inside a real agency, giving you the real agency intelligence and not the artificial that they try to make you believe out there. This is Cass. He's back with you with my man, Dwight Heppner, what we also call locally in America, everybody who knows this badass Canadian agent, we also call him Dwight Bear because he lives so far north in Canada that he lives by the polar bears. And he really doesn't live that far north. It's just way farther than north than us. So it's like really far north. But welcome to the podcast, Mr. Heppner. How are you, dude?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. And you'll be happy to know it looks like we're about to get about 6 inches of snow in the next 2 or 3 days. So that always excites you when we're going to be shoveling snow and having fun in the winter weather up here.
Loyal listeners, today is December 13th of 2022. Just so you know, that gives you a little relevance to what he's talking about. I mean, in America, a lot of places we can get some snow about this time as well. It's just that I'm surprised you've had snow already this year, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got 2 feet of snow out on my front yard right now. Oh. And it's been decent, Cass. It's been -10 for the most part, Celsius. We're talking Celsius, right? So, but we did touch on the -40, which matches you in Fahrenheit. So it was -40 Fahrenheit here last week for 2 or 3 days with the wind chill. So we bared through that, and now it's getting a little nicer for Christmas. So
it gets so cold there, loyal listeners, that Celsius and Fahrenheit equal. Okay, a lot of loyal listeners are Americans and we're dumb, so we don't even understand Celsius. I mean, we just don't. I thought Celsius was like a crypto company that went under. That to Americans, that's all we know. Okay, so but to know that Americans, it's different, but like it gets so freaking cold there, and at about that time is when they cancel school.
Correct.
Correct. Then.
Right around there. So, yeah,
right.
It was Wednesday, I think it was. It was -36. Had it been -38 at 6 a.m., they would have canceled school. So the kids were pretty disappointed. They did some backwards walking to school because you got to walk backwards when it's that cold to protect your face from frostbite. So it's only happened twice so far into our winter here. So we're so far so good. It's been a nice season.
Dwight and I met in 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. We met in San Francisco. We've had a great time, great career, even though it's not like we're retiring or anything. But so far, our careers have been fantastic. He's been big up in the associations up in Canada. As you guys know, I had been when I was younger. Got to still have a love-hate relationship with him, but the big I is always needed. The PIA is always needed. They always are our association, and that's what matters. And they're helping independent agents. And sometimes I may not like you, but if you help independent agents, I got to have a spot for you in my heart somewhere. And so Dwight and I our wives have become friends. We've really got to know each other a lot. And so loyal listeners, when I talk about like, hey, I hang out with these people and this people, Dwight's one of the top 5 guys that I look forward to seeing every year whenever we get to see each other. Pretty soon when we retire, we'll probably hang out a lot more than we do right now, especially him and Amanda, his wife, are going to leave Canada for a little bit and come down here and do a little RVing. But what did you say?
Yeah, we're going to find some warm spots. That's what we're going to do, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this summer we were this fall we were together at ITC. We were together at AppliedNet. Great time, by the way. Fan-frickin-tastic time. But the thing that we wanted to talk about here, and the reason why, loyal listeners, was a couple other things, but bots. And you've heard some talk out there about companies, Quandary. You've heard some talk out there. Another one, Adapt API is another one. They do different types of things. I imagine there's going to be many more of these that pop up, but it's centered around RPA, robotic processing automation. And Dwight, what is your title and what agency are you with? And give us a little bit. What does your agency look like?
Sure. I work for Guild Insurance in Brandon, Manitoba, which is about 2 hours west of Winnipeg.
Okay.
And to put some lines in there for you, Winnipeg's about an hour and a bit north of the American border,
Okay.
2 hours north of Grand Forks,
Okay.
North Dakota. If you guys North Dakota, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
So we've got 80 staff. We kind of auto, commercial, farm, life, personal lines, obviously. I'm the
Okay.
manager of digital strategy. So I kind of lead our innovation crew. Moving from our old BMS system to Epic is, one of the project leads that I was part of not so long ago. Moving to a new VoIP phone system, those types of things I take care
Mhm.
of, and then some of the training and support and just the online digital leads, website design, SEO, kind of dabble in some of that stuff for us to bring in a lot of the leads. The big thing, trying to support our staff, our brokers, and then our customers to create a better experience, trying to find technology and innovation to help with that. And when you bring up the quandary robotic processing automation, which is kind of hard to say, hey,
It
Cass? Like if
is
you really
very
say it
tough.
fast, it's hard. I don't know if did Roy come up with that? It
I don't know.
feels
That's why we
like
just say
something he would have.
RPA. Yeah.
RPA. When
Roy.
that came, when it, when it landed on our lap, kind of thing. And Jeff was actually, one of the guys who I was talking to about it off the start, because he's still on TAM and he was trying to figure out how to make things easier for staff when the downloads came in. So we looked at policy, renewal. And from a personal line side of things, we started looking at what it looks like when our download comes in and what our brokers need to do after that when they're reviewing each and every renewal that comes in to make sure that it's coming properly, it's not missing anything. Should we be, making sure they have 5 million liability, those types of things that brokers do. That was a really big project, and we're about a third of the way through that project right now.
Okay.
We've got the renaming bot in place. So it basically, the download comes in, it sees the download, the bot does, and then it just goes to the attachment and it renames each attachment how we predetermined it's supposed to be renamed. So that part is good. But when we looked at the personal lines renewal, and it's a big project, we started thinking of how can we make a bot helpful in the farm and commercial side of things? Like, can we do something with it that would make it quick and effective for our brokers? And what we found is that our brokers were going into their pre-renewal routine, and they'd have to go into Epic and they'd have to renew like each line. They'd have to renew it to get that activity to pop up that they'd start working on the policy.
Yeah.
And as they're doing that, they've got to check premium. They've got to check off if it's financed or not. They've got to go through renaming the policy. We did a full cost analysis on what it would take. It was like I would say a 5-minute process for the broker to do this. And we built that bot out with Quandary, and it probably takes the bot 30 to 40 seconds to do this. Like, it goes in there, it goes through each step that we've told it to go through. It's done, forwards the activity to the broker, and now the broker basically works through its pre-renewal process without having to do those other steps.
Wow.
It sounds small, 3 to 5 minutes on a policy, but you multiply it by the amount of policies that we do in a day, in a month, a year. Right now, we're looking at about 25 hours a month that we're saving just in that process.
Wow.
So we're saving that time, 25 hours a month, and then you talk to, so we have our structure is like we have an account executive, and that account executive has an account administrator, so an AA underneath them who does the transactions and kind of makes sure that, producers do what they're supposed to do, kind of covers them. And you talk to that AA and they're like, it's changed their life in the fact that the policy has a better description. The finance checkbox is never missed. If it's a finance policy, it's finance. The premium is never missed because sometimes the AE might have better things to do. They're selling, right? They're out there doing other things. And they just go through it and quickly get it in so that it's done. And now the bot is doing that, and the AA is saving way more time in fixing the renewal that was done. So their transactions are cleaner, their descriptions are cleaner, and it helps with that E&O piece. So you look at it from oh, it's just saving us 25 hours, right? But really, it's saving other people time as well. So that's where we're really excited that our personal lines one, like once we get that one built, it's going to save even more time on that side of things and just make it a way better customer experience. That's the goal.
So we're in Vegas. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're having fun, but Dwight and I are such geeks. Like, we're sitting there drinking beer on the side of the road talking about this shit, you know? And I even said, I was like, the amazing part of what this was, and I know this sounds crazy. There's a lot of great things you just said there, Dwight. But one of the things that's so probably the hardest of that all is, how do you decipher the time it takes? Do you just sit there and record the person and set a stopwatch? I mean, how did you do that? How do you do that cost analysis?
Yeah, basically that's what we did. We took a few of the AEs. We brought them through the process, right? We said, here's what we need you to do. Went through, kind of stopwatch it. You go, okay, well that one was 2.5 minutes because it was quick and easy. And then you start asking questions. What happens to you, while you're doing this? Well, I could get a phone call. Okay, so you get a phone call and you're mid-process. You take the phone call from the client, and then what do? Well, I usually have to go into that client's file, and then I get out of this client. Now I got to redo it again, right? Now, because I'm getting out of one client file and getting into another, I have to go and do it over again. So there's little things, nuances that we figured out, right? And then you'd say, okay, what else happens? Well, my AA will tell me that I did it incorrectly. I need to go and check off the finance box, or I didn't put the premium in. And I go back in there, right? So we went through some of those, and then you just really try and find out what the pain points are. You know what I mean? Like, you could make a bot do whatever you want, really. Like, it has full access to Epic, just like I do. I mean, it can go into the client file. It could go read a document and come back and tell you what that document says, if you really want it to, right? Mm-hmm. But you got to try and find the pain points where it's doing things that a broker shouldn't need to do, right? Like, in my mind, why, when I run a report in Epic, why can't that report just renew those policies and give me the activity with the policy renewed? It sounds straightforward. Like, why doesn't our management system do that?
Right.
But it doesn't. It just sends me an activity and says, this policy is expiring. You need to go renew it manually. That's all it does, right? So I think trying to find pain points for our brokers is what led us to, I mean, we started with the big one, the personal lines, which we haven't finished, but it led us to this commercial farm one going, this is a pain in the ass.
Right.
Why are we wasting our time with it? We've had it for 6 months. I think our users have just slowly started to realize now how much of a time saver it is and how clean it is. It makes the system clean. Clean data. That's what we talked about, right? Chris Paradiso had that at BrainShare. Clean your data. This is one way data slowly cleans, right?
It really is.
Huge.
It's being done right, and it doesn't have to answer the phone and doesn't have to go back in and do it. It's phenomenal. And so to be able, so you're looking at that. You said you were a third of the way through. Like, what does this plan kind of look like when it's done?
Yeah. So right now it's the document renaming. So that one, it's live essentially. And then the next step is in Epic. When the download happens, it's an EDI download. So electronic data gets put into the policy itself. So Epic has the ability to pull up both policies and in electronic format, not a PDF, and in the electronic data format. It pulls them both up, and what the bot is going to do is look at both the 2022, 2023 policies and compare them, and then bring back that information and put it in an activity for the broker to say, hey, something as simple as this client only has 2 million liability. If our standards are 5 or 10, it's going to put in there, you need to talk to the client about the liability. They need to increase to 5. If their sewer backup went from 50 to 25, or if there is an increase in premium, discounts, surcharges, different things that it'll notice in there based on what we tell it to look for. It'll come back, put it in the activity. That's going to be phase 2. So now the policy's renewed. The document's been renamed, so it's nice and clean. And the broker now has a policy comparison without having to touch anything. So they'll see exactly what they wanted to see, detailed. Now they can call the client email the client, text the client, call the client, and have that conversation without needing to review the PDFs or go through it themselves. And they'll give us feedback. That's the hope, right? The broker is going to give us feedback and say, hey, I'd really like it if the bot did this. Okay, let's throw it in there, right? Like it is that easy, really. So we figure it's 25 to 30 minutes once we get there per policy. Reviewing and renaming attachments, we're in that 20 to 25, probably on average, get up to 30 depending on what interrupts you in between. I think it's going to be phenomenal once that gets launched.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking in my head just out loud, like, I mean, how, so many things that can be done and that are just a drag of time right now, that and not only is it a drag of time, but it can be done so much better. Yeah.
It just creates that customer experience, right? Like without having to do a full review, you've got it in front of you and you can have that conversation with the client. My next goal, and it's something, I've talked to Quandary about, and it's definitely possible. It probably takes a little bit from their back end, is to do that analysis on our full book of personal lines policies beforehand. Kind of like what we talked about with Neon. So, let's say that bot goes and runs through all our EDI of all our personal lines policies, all right? At renewal time, it goes into the policy. It then sees that your client has 25,000 sewer backup or water, overland flood, and it only has 2 million liability. It then puts in the activity based on your entire book of business in this area. This client should have 5 million liability and $75,000 overland. Right? Based on all the data you have in your book of business, the bot can then make recommendations based on that. Yeah. Not saying that it knows what it should do, but hey, these individuals between the ages of 30 and 35 normally in your book of business have a 10 million liability. Right? To me, that's next steps as to what it could, by reading all your data, could bring back to you as a broker, and then ultimately your client experience is way more of a high level experience for them.
I'm thinking, my brain is going wild here because I'm thinking to myself, the next level, I've always said the customer experience is about your expectations, but it's about your unexpectations, right? And you're saying it here. A guy's got 2 million in liability when he needs 5. You're using data inside your book and through other resources to be able to deliver him the protection he actually needs because of that, right? And you have a justifiable way of doing it. And and I see to myself real quick, and I'm just talking out loud here, loyal listeners and Dwight, that I start to see that what makes you a professional sometimes can be the more data you have that can suitify. So so let's say we say a doctor, right? A doctor knows and is seen as a professional for many reasons, but one of the reasons is that they have a lot of data on us, right? They run the tests, they run the analysis, they have a lot of data that they can formulate to say, here's what we have found out. That's huge and valuable to us. And I'm thinking like lawyers have past data, like from a long time ago, that AI technology can help to make them useful. And I'm just speaking out loud because that's kind of what you're doing. You're using like the data of who that person is and what the likelihood of who their life is like based on other people that are similar. Because I guarantee you there's probably a lot of lawyers that are in people's book of business that have low limits and they probably don't realize it, right? But a bot could tell them that,
Yeah. Again, it goes back to the data that you're going to collect, right? Are you collecting their occupation? Are you collecting everybody's birth dates like you should, right? Like we do collect a lot of information. Let's be real. Like our house, the year built, the updates that are done on the home, the location. Like we've got a lot of rural clients, so they live on farms outside of smaller cities, I would say. Like you guys aren't used to Brandon is 60, 70,000 people. Right. That's a city. Winnipeg's the capital. It's 750,000 people, right?
Gotcha.
It's not massive. Manitoba's not a huge province.
But Dwight, it's take it further, buddy. It's their behavioral traits is what we're getting at, right? So if we go after like where they are, where their address is, where their date of birth is, we're getting a lot of like categorical data, right? But like the behavioral data is what I like you're talking about, because when we bring all that together, as you said, looking at your book of business and saying, hey, based on what these other books has, this is how you should be. I guess we're basing that on some categorical data, but maybe like using things like Donna or what we talked about with Neon or whatever, being able to bring that in to say, hey, this is what this person's most likely to need or want. Yeah, that's interesting. And I'll tell you, you can't get it done without the clean data, and you can't get it done without a way to process that data in a very large way, you know?
And I think right now too, I don't know if you talk to many people at AppliedNet that are, TAM is kind of on its way out, right? And Epic, people got to move. And you go, I've talked to a lot of people in the last little while, and they're like, how do I start? What do I do? And it's get your data cleaned up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Try and make sure you have good data, because when you move it in Epic, that doesn't mean it's clean, right? Your opportunity is now to do that, right? So, I like what you're saying, that categorical data, and I think it'd be really cool to be able to, grab some of that and have it reevaluated by the bot, and just bring it into the notes and see what that does for your rounding of clients, right? It would definitely bring a different level of client experience or journey, if you will, once you have that information to talk to your client about. I just think it creates those open-ended questions. You know what I mean? Like if you're good at that, you do that for a living. Open-ended questions. You try and get more of a response from people, right? And I think that's what you should be doing as a broker to gain that information, right? It just makes a lot of sense if you have the correct data or background information to work with your client.
So I know of Adapt API, and just so people know, here's the difference from what Jacob has told me. Jacob, who owns Adapt API, is they have set bots. Let's just say, what is it? Well, Quandary has customized bots. So they came in, worked with Dwight, said, Dwight, what exactly is your staff wanting to do? And I guess you guys probably showed them everything, and then boom, they built a bot that did exactly that. Adapt already has the bots built, and they do certain tasks. I think he's got like 7 or 8 tasks that it will do. But it just does whatever he's done. Now, there are things where he can say, hey, can you add in this step? And he can do that for you. But what the difference is that Quandary is going to cost you a little bit more money, but you're getting exactly what you want. With him, it's going to cost you less money, but you're getting exactly what he's designed. That's the way. Any different, Dwight? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say that's right. And it's probably because Quandary is maybe a little bit smaller or newer to the business. They're really insurance focused, Quandary. And they do have 3 basically out of the box, bots, the renewal, the eDoc manager. There's one other one. It might be a activity manager. I can't remember. They've got 3 that are like out of the box kind of, hey, we've done these before, and it's not quite as customized maybe. I know they're working on some of those things, and I think that is probably the biggest thing that probably scares brokers and agents. They go, I got to customize this whole thing. How much resource do I need to put into building a spot? I don't even have that time, right? Like I'm not even going to take the time. I'll go to the guy who's got it built for me. So yeah, I think they have a little bit of both, and you're right. If you're going to customize and build it yourself, you got to expect it's for you. You're going to pay a little more.
How many policies do you guys have, Dwight?
In the personal lines world, we got 12,000 policies that we're working on for homeowners.
That just for homeowners, or
that's homeowners. Yeah.
Okay, so see that right there is the difference. You need probably a Quandary when you're talking about 12,000 homeowners, most agents don't have 2,000 policies, right? And so you could get that little more simple basic. But I can imagine, and I think Jacob at Adapt API would be the same way. Once you get certain big, you need to have the way you guys process business is different than how we process business on Main Street small. And even though you guys are still small in this world, you're not small, but you're a medium-sized fish. But it's just different. So yeah.
Yeah, and you got to remember we're government auto, right? When I say that to you, you're like, what? You're what? Yeah, right. So we don't do auto policies. Like we do auto policies, but it's all on a separate system, right? We don't have an auto policy attached to a homeowner's, right? So the auto piece for us is a totally different world than it is for you guys. So that kind of is the reason why our policies, it's just a different count, I would say. But you're right. It is totally different from you guys to us to the larger fish who need it more customized for what their experience is.
It is. Well, dude, Dwight, I appreciate you talk. This is great. We talked all about RPA robotics, and you gave some great examples for people to look at. And, he's a mastermind champion, him and Roy are. And so they're inside our mastermind, and we talk about this stuff. And I wanted you guys out there, you loyal listeners, to hear about this. This is some amazing stuff. I said it, I think at the beginning of the year. Two of the main terms that would be used a lot would be embed technology, embed insurance. You hear that. You've had to have heard that more this year than you have before. But RPA, robotic processing automation. And what's funny, I won't go there, Dwight, but there's a couple insurtech carrier companies, vendors, I guess I should say, that they were using RPA back in 2015, 2016, and the insurance industry kind of blackballed them. And like behind the scenes, people were like, "Oh, they're doing that, that stuff where they're using bots to get all this stuff." And the reason why they were doing it is because the APIs were even worse than they are right now, right? I mean, because they're a lot better today, but I mean, they were almost non-existent 7-8 years ago. And so it's just really, really crazy how all this is kind of filtering out, because now this is technology that's the future now and future, but as little as 7 years ago, people were looking at it as black hat technology,
Yeah, and isn't it the way you've said it well a couple of times in the fact that let humans do what they're extremely good at doing, and let the bots do what they're good at doing, right? And it's that messaging to, I think what you were saying is that black hat, or like everybody was concerned that the bots were going to take over someone's job, really, right? We haven't scaled down because of what the bot's doing. We're just able to do what we do better because of the bot, right? So I think it's that messaging to staff or to everybody who's involved in the process. So that it allows them to do their job better.
Yes, sorry, I thought you were done there. Sometimes Canadians, they talk slow, they stop in the middle of their shit, and they go on. No, I'm joking. Yeah, you're thinking because it's just so smart. So much motor up here, Jason. So much.
We just want to be nice all the time. That's why we.
Oh shit! Now what was I going to say? What were you talking about?
Humans doing humans, what they're
humans. Okay, I did a presentation at the IAOA, and I did Better Together, right? And how we're better together as humans and all this, and then it flows into the rest of the presentation is how we're better together with technology. And I will probably, loyal listeners, I'll probably get the years a little wrong, but I'm very close. In 1998, Watson beat a master chess player for the very first time ever, and could almost beat him every time or any other master player there going forward. Until 2008, they decided to take a master chess player and have them work with Watson in order to see if they could beat Watson, another AI technology. I'm keeping it simple. They're not the same thing, but a simple thing. And they beat the AI technology. And never has the AI technology ever been able to beat the AI technology and the human. But they can, see what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's going
yeah.
to what you're saying here. At the end of the day, the human and the RPA, let them do what they're both good at. And that's where you're actually going to get the best result. And that's good news. You're right. And then on your thing about the robotics of like, they're going to take over the world and stuff. I mean, Americans are so fucking Hollywood and I'm going to say North Americans, right? I mean, we're all so Hollywood shit. Look this up, loyal listeners, and I've probably spoke about this before. There is a religion, I think it starts with an S. It's a big religion in Asia. And in this religion, and it kind of filters into other Asian religions, they believe that robots, things that have electricity in them, have a soul. And so if you say to an Asian that robots are going to be mean and going to take over the world, it blows their mind. Because to them, they see them as actually something real. Now, think about Asian cartoons. Think about everything. You'll see the way that they've always believed in electronics and the way they do with robots. They believe that that stuff actually has a soul as a spiritual belief. And so it's funny because they look at America or Western culture and they say to us, like, you guys like think it's going to kill everybody. And we're really starting to find out that it's actually just going to enhance our lives. You know, it really, truly is. It's never the fear factor.
It's amazing. And we might actually get to that point, Cass. We were talking about this in Vegas and in Nashville. I'm pretty sure of it. All and we might have even had Travis Wall in there doing his, his photo shoot. Yeah. But we were talking about how we've had innovation and technology for so long in the insurance industry, and so long, let's say 10 years, that we've been really pushing, but it really hasn't changed the size of book of business that a broker or agent can handle, right? Like we're still kind of handling the same size of book. And will this, RPA enhance that, right? Mm-hmm. Enhance the ability for humans to take on a larger size of book of business? Will these APIs that we hopefully have between our vendors and carriers help with that? Finally, we might get to a point where innovation is starting to help us with the size and what we're doing with our clients. I think that's a huge piece to all of this for sure.
I agree. That's
and I
good. I like that.
Travis piece in there.
Yeah, no. I like that. You got me thinking about a lot of different things, things that I've thought about before. No, that this is good stuff. So I'm going to end on that. And loyal listeners, was that not a treat? This is what me and Dwight Bear do all the time. And like we just sit there and sit around and talk because we're straight freaking geeks. I mean, we really truly are. And we're okay with it, right? Because like we're married to hot, sexy women, right? So it's like, I mean, that was the only reason when you're in high school you didn't want to be a geek, right? Because you couldn't get the girls. But then Dwight and I got like lucky, and so we got the girls. So then now we just tell everybody we're geeks, right? He just happens to live by white bears. But anyways, dude, greatly appreciate you and your friendship and what you do to this industry. And we're gonna keep killing it. And we'll come back on soon, okay?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. Miss you. All you loyal listeners, you know what I do because I do it for you. Tell me your thoughts and tell me your ideas, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say. This has been Jason Cass with Agency Intelligence, where I gave you a real agent inside a real agency, giving you the real agency intelligence. And I am out.